Silence is the loudest scream you'll ever give, and the only one they'll actually hear. When you stop chasing, my friends, something magical and terrifying happens at the same time. The world goes quiet. You stop running after people who were walking away, and suddenly they don't know what to do with that kind of stillness, because they were never afraid of losing you. They were afraid of losing control of you. Before we dive in, hit that like button and subscribe if you're ready to learn how silence can speak louder than any apology, argument, or explanation. Stay with me till the end, because I promise this one's going to flip the way you see yourself and them forever. Hey folks, imagine this. You've been running a marathon, right? You've been sprinting after someone who never even looked back to see if you were keeping up. You're gasping for air, tripping, sweating, trying to prove your worth, just to stay in their sight. But then one day, you stop. You take a breath. You realize they weren't running toward anything. They were running from themselves. And your silence, that's the moment you sit down in the middle of the track, cross your arms, and let them keep running in circles. Because chasing people who don't want to be caught is like watering a dead plant. The more effort you pour in, the faster you drain yourself. Here's the truth they never tell you. People get addicted to the sound of your effort. They love your calls, your texts, your energy, not because they value it, but because it keeps reminding them they matter. You were their mirror, reflecting back their importance. But when you go silent, that mirror shatters. They're left staring at their own reflection without your validation to dress it up. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In other words, let them misunderstand your silence. Let them call you cold, distant, unbothered. Because real strength isn't in proving your side, it's in mastering your peace. Now, some of you might be thinking, but won't they forget about me if I stay silent? My friend, that's the biggest lie your fear will ever whisper. People don't forget peace. They remember the ones who could have exploded, but didn't. They remember the ones who could have begged, but walked away instead. Silence doesn't erase your presence, it amplifies it. It's like walking off stage mid-performance. The audience doesn't leave, they lean in. They wonder why. They replay your every word, your every action, trying to find the moment they lost you. That's the power of restraint. It's psychological gravity. The more still you become, the more they orbit around your absence. I know it's hard. I know the urge to explain, to send that one message, to prove your point. But listen to me. Silence is not about punishing them. It's about protecting yourself. Every word you don't say is a brick in the wall of your peace. Every reply you don't send is a step back into your self-respect. So here's what I want you to do. Stop running. Sit with yourself. Breathe. Remember that the person who truly values you will never need to be chased. They'll meet you halfway, or not at all. And that's okay. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." And that's exactly what silence is. Not revenge, but evolution. The day you go silent is the day you rise above the noise. So, if you're ready to stop chasing, to stop explaining, and to start choosing peace over chaos, drop this in the comments right now. I choose silence. Because that silence, my friends, is not weakness, it's wisdom. And if this message hit home for you, press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what's coming next will change how you handle everything from this day forward. Number 1. The shock, when the attention supply suddenly stops. The silence that follows your absence is the echo of their dependence. You see, when you finally stop chasing, it doesn't hit them the way you think it does. It's not fireworks or tears or a grand realization at first. It's confusion. They stand there, blinking at the sudden quiet, like someone who's just lost the background noise they were living in for too long. Your energy, your effort, your constant presence. It was their emotional oxygen. And when you pull it away, even for a moment, they start to suffocate in the silence they once begged for. Imagine a radio that's been playing non-stop for months. It's loud, familiar, even annoying at times. They complain about the noise, tell you it's too much, that they need space. But when you finally turn it off, when the room goes completely quiet, suddenly they can hear their own thoughts. And that's the part they can't handle, because your silence doesn't just remove you. It forces them to face themselves. Now, their mind begins to panic. Wait, why aren't they calling? Why aren't they posting? Why aren't they reacting? They start refreshing your page, checking your last scene, rereading old texts that used to make them feel like they were still in control. You've stopped explaining, stopped proving, stopped chasing, and to their ego, that's the scariest sound in the world. Because control dies in silence, and when control dies, reality walks in. They start telling themselves lies to survive the withdrawal. They're just busy. They'll reach out soon. They're trying to make me miss them. These lies become little comfort blankets for their ego, but the blanket gets thinner every day your silence continues. Deep down, they know something's changed. They can't quite name it, but it feels permanent, like a door quietly closing that they didn't notice until it was locked. Why does it hurt them so much, you ask? Because silence removes the illusion. When you were chasing, they believed they were worth the effort. Every text, every explanation, every emotional reaction fed their belief that they mattered more than your peace. They built their confidence on your consistency, but now that you've stopped feeding that fire, the warmth is gone, and all that's left is the cold truth. The truth that maybe they weren't the prize after all. The truth that maybe you stopped because you finally saw what they refused to see. Your own value. And that's where the fear starts to crawl in. Not the fear of losing you, but the fear of being ordinary again. Your silence removes the pedestal they built themselves on. It takes away the spotlight they thought was permanently theirs. For the first time, they have to stand in the dark without the glow of your admiration. And darkness has a funny way of showing people who they really are. They'll tell themselves you're playing games, but what they don't realize is that silence isn't a move. It's a moment of truth. It's the end of performing for someone who never clapped for you. They might try to provoke you, test your patience, or bait you into reacting just to prove they still matter. But don't take the bait. Because the moment you break your silence just to remind them you're still there, you give back the power they were never supposed to hold in the first place. Remember what the Stoics taught. He who angers you conquers you. If they can make you break your silence, they still own a piece of your peace. Don't let them rent space in your head with the currency of your reaction. Every message you don't send, every post you don't make, every reply you hold back. It's not weakness, it's discipline. But yes, it will hurt at first. Your mind will scream, say something, they'll think you don't care. You'll feel the urge to prove your side, to defend your worth. That's fear talking, not love. Because the truth is, people who value you never make you beg to be understood. The ones who are using you for attention, they crumble when the supply stops, and watching that crumble is not cruelty, it's clarity. It's not easy, my friends. Silence feels heavy in the beginning because your heart still remembers the noise. You'll want to reach out just to fill the empty space, to make the discomfort go away. But discomfort is the price of detachment. And detachment is the foundation of freedom. You're not losing anything by staying silent. You're learning how to live without begging for acknowledgement. When you stop chasing, you start healing. You start seeing who was real and who was just there for the attention. You realize how much peace costs and how little drama is actually worth. The same silence that scares them will start to strengthen you. You'll notice your sleep improving, your thoughts clearing, your confidence returning. You'll start enjoying your own company again. And that's when the true shift happens. Because when you enjoy your own silence, you become untouchable. They can't manipulate you anymore. They can't bait you. They can't control you with fear, guilt, or pity. You've taken back the one thing they depended on the most: your reaction. So the next time they wonder why you went quiet, let them. Let their mind run wild. Let their ego starve. Let their imagination do the work you no longer have to. You don't owe them a speech. Your silence is your statement. You don't need to prove you've moved on. Your peace will speak for itself. Remember this: silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. And the people who once thrived on your noise will one day break under your quiet. Now, write this in the comments right now. My silence speaks volumes. Show them, show yourself, show the world that your peace is not negotiable anymore, because this moment of stillness is where your power begins. And stay with me, because what comes next will open your eyes to what they truly go through when that silence becomes permanent. Number 2, the denial. They'll come back. They always do. Ego is the art of pretending you're in control while everything slips through your fingers. When you go silent, the first thing they feel isn't loss, it's denial. They tell themselves they'll reach out soon. They sit there, scrolling through your old chats, refreshing your page, waiting for that familiar notification. They've convinced themselves that you're just taking a break, playing a game, teaching them a lesson. Their ego whispers, "Don't worry, they always come back." But deep down, something darker begins to stir, something that feels like panic disguised as pride. My friends, denial is the brain's way of refusing to face accountability. It's like standing in front of a collapsing wall and saying, "It's fine, it's not really falling." They can't yet admit to themselves that you're truly gone, because that would mean confronting the truth they've been avoiding all along. That your energy, your effort, your patience wasn't infinite. It had limits, and they finally found them. Picture this. They've been drinking from a fountain that never seemed to run dry. Your love, your attention, your forgiveness. They'd make a mess, and you'd clean it up. They'd disappear, and you'd chase. But now that fountain's turned off and they're standing there with empty hands, wondering if it's broken or if they broke it. They'll check it once, twice, 10 times. But no matter how long they wait, the water doesn't flow. That's what your silence feels like. An endless drought where there used to be abundance. They'll mask it well. They'll post as if they're living their best life, laugh louder than ever, even show off new people. But that's not confidence, it's performance, because denial is loud. Denial needs witnesses. True peace is quiet, but panic needs an audience. They want you to see that they don't need you. They want everyone else to believe it too. But at night, when the show ends and the lights go out, they scroll through old pictures, stare at your name in their phone, and whisper to themselves, "They'll be back." That's the funny thing about ego. It's allergic to silence. Ego needs noise, arguments, reactions. Your stillness feels like suffocation, and so, to survive it, their mind creates illusions. They tell themselves you're just busy. They say you're testing them. They even convince themselves you're playing hard to get. But the truth, you're just done. They're addicted to your reaction because it proves they still matter. Every time you replied, even in anger, it told them they still had access to your emotions. But silence feels like being erased. That's why they'll start small. Liking an old post, sending a meme, maybe even asking something random like, "Hey, do you still have my hoodie?" It's not about the hoodie, it's about testing the water, checking if the fountain still flows. But this is where your real test begins too, because your heart will want to answer. It will want to feed their denial just one more time, to prove you're not cold, to prove you still care. That's your fear talking, not your soul. And here's the truth. You're not responsible for their realization. You're responsible for your recovery. Let their denial crumble without your help. That's not cruelty. It's necessary. Remember the Stoic lesson from Seneca. He who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than necessary. You've already carried the weight of explaining, fixing, forgiving. Don't suffer twice by explaining your silence to someone who never listened when you spoke. They'll act like they don't notice your absence, but trust me, they do. They notice it in the quiet mornings when there's no message from you. They notice it when they share a joke and realize there's no one left who truly gets it. They notice it when they look around and realize the peace they feel isn't peace at all. It's emptiness. And yet they'll keep pretending. They'll keep saying they'll come back. They always do. But what they don't understand is that you're not the same person who used to return. You've grown. You've seen what chasing does to your self-worth. You've learned that silence doesn't mean losing. It means letting go of what was already gone. Breaking through denial takes time for both sides. But your job isn't to wait for them to accept reality. It's to keep living yours. Every day you stay silent, you teach them something their ego will never forget. That love isn't proven through pursuit, it's preserved through peace. So, when their denial tries to pull you back, remember who you're becoming. You're not the same person who begged to be seen. You're the one who walks away without needing to be understood. You've stopped chasing the noise. And now, you're learning to hear your own strength in the quiet. Write this in the comments right now. I'm done feeding denial. Show them, show yourself, show the world around you that your silence isn't weakness. It's awareness, because denial keeps them trapped. But truth sets you free. And stay with me, because what comes next will reveal what really happens when that denial fades and fear finally takes its place. Number 3. The ego collapse, when silence feels like rejection. The moment you stop giving them attention is the moment their ego starts to starve. And starvation doesn't make people humble, it makes them desperate. When you go silent, their first reaction isn't sadness, it's disbelief. They don't actually think you're serious. They think it's temporary, like a little tantrum, a dramatic pause before your next message. They've built a whole identity around your predictability, the comfort of knowing that no matter how many times they ignored you, you'd return, that no matter how deep they cut, you'd still show up with bandages. But when that pattern breaks, when your energy no longer bends toward them, that's when the real cracks begin to show. Imagine a performer standing on stage, soaking in applause that isn't theirs. The crowd isn't clapping for talent, they're clapping because you told them to, and one day you walk out, you stop cheering, and suddenly the performer's silence fills the room. That's what your absence does. It takes away their fake audience, leaving them face to face with their unearned spotlight. See, your silence doesn't just take away attention, it takes away identity. They built their confidence on your reactions. They measured their worth by how easily they could get you to respond. Every message you sent, every explanation you gave, every argument you entertained was food for their ego. But when the plate goes empty, the hunger begins. And here's the truth, my friends. Nothing terrifies the ego more than being ignored, because indifference is the purest form of rejection. Anger means you still care. Jealousy means they still matter. But silence means they've lost access. And to someone whose worth depends on validation, that loss feels like death. They'll start telling themselves lies just to survive. They're just trying to get my attention. They're still hurt. They'll be back. These thoughts are their life support. But your silence keeps cutting the oxygen line a little tighter every day. Because silence, unlike words, doesn't negotiate. It doesn't comfort or explain. It just exists. It forces them to sit with what they did, and that stillness feels like standing in front of a mirror that finally reflects the truth. Now their pride starts to fight back. They'll post things to get your attention, hoping to trigger you. Maybe they'll flaunt someone new or act like they're living their best life. But those are not signs of power. They're symptoms of ego collapse. Because when the strong are truly healed, they don't need an audience. Only the broken need applause to feel alive. They'll try to convince themselves and everyone around them that your silence doesn't matter. But the louder they pretend, the more obvious it becomes that it does. You see, the human mind can't handle rejection without explanation. And that's what silence is, rejection without reason. It leaves the ego starving for closure that never comes. The Stoics said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And right now, their imagination is devouring them. They start to imagine you laughing, healing, glowing up. They start to imagine you finding peace in the very silence they once mocked. And that thought alone burns deeper than any insult you could have thrown. They'll ask themselves silent questions they'll never say out loud. Did I go too far? Do they hate me? Are they really done? They'll try to rationalize it, but denial eventually gives way to fear, and fear gives way to regret. Because the truth is, your silence is showing them what life actually feels like without you in it. It's not punishment, it's perspective. But I'll be honest with you, this part is hard for you too. Watching them pretend not to care can sting. You'll wonder if your silence is even working. You'll question if they ever really valued you at all. But hear me, this silence isn't about making them miss you. It's about reminding yourself that your value was never measured by their attention in the first place. When you stay silent, you start breaking your own addiction too. The addiction to being understood, to being validated, to being chosen. You start learning that not every story needs an ending, not every wound needs an apology. Some things are healed by walking away and saying nothing at all. It's difficult, I know. The urge to speak, to prove, to clarify, it'll rise like a wave. But when that wave comes, breathe. Let it crash without you, because that's not your storm anymore. You've already done your part. You gave effort. You gave love. You gave understanding. And now it's time to give peace to yourself. They may think your silence is a weakness, but what they don't realize is that silence is strength with self-control. It's grace under fire. It's the art of saying, I don't need to win this argument to win myself back. And eventually, that silence, the one they laughed at, will become the thing they can't forget. Because silence doesn't fade. It echoes. It echoes in every moment they wish they'd treated you better. It echoes in every conversation they have where they compare others to you. It echoes in every lonely night they pretend doesn't hurt. So, stay silent. Let their ego collapse, if it must. That's not your burden to carry. You're not breaking them. You're just refusing to fix them anymore. Write this in the comments right now. My silence is my strength. Say it for yourself. Show them, show yourself, show the world around you that silence isn't rejection, it's redirection. Because what's coming next, my friends, isn't about their pain anymore. It's about your rise. And that rise, it's going to be quiet, but unforgettable. Number 4, the obsession loop, searching for signs you still care. Nothing drives the human mind crazier than unanswered questions and unfinished stories. That's exactly what your silence becomes to them, an unfinished story they can't stop reading in their head. When you stop chasing, their world doesn't just go quiet, it starts echoing. They replay every word, every moment, every text, searching for the hidden meaning they missed. They scroll through your old pictures, trying to decode your smile, wondering if it was ever real. The same person who once claimed they needed space is now suffocating in the distance they created. You see, they're not obsessed with you at first. They're obsessed with control. They can't accept that you're not reacting anymore. Your silence has turned into a riddle their ego is desperate to solve. Every time they check your social media, every time they hover over your name, every time they scroll through your old messages, they're not looking for closure. They're looking for proof that they still matter, because silence leaves the mind starving for certainty, and a starving mind will feed on anything. Imagine someone standing in a dark room, waving their arms, hoping to hit a light switch that isn't there. That's what they're doing, desperately trying to find your attention again. They'll start throwing out small signals. A like here, a random emoji there, maybe a message that says, "Hey, just checking on you." But don't be fooled. That's not care. That's curiosity wrapped in manipulation. They don't miss you. They miss the way your energy made them feel important. They'll try to test your silence in subtle ways. They'll post things they know you'll see, hoping to trigger a reaction. They might post quotes about moving on, selfies with forced smiles, or stories that sound suspiciously aimed at you. But here's the secret. None of that means peace. It means panic. People who have truly let go don't perform. Only those who are losing control put on a show. And as the silence stretches, obsession deepens. They'll talk about you to friends, pretending they don't care, but their voice will shake when your name comes up. They'll say things like, "Yeah, we don't talk anymore." But in their mind, they're still having conversations with you. Every day they reimagine the argument, the ending, the what if. They rewrite the story over and over again, hoping the next version makes them the hero instead of the fool. The Stoics taught that what disturbs your mind are not the things themselves, but the opinions you form about them. And right now, their opinions about your silence are eating them alive because they can't accept that maybe this silence isn't about playing games. Maybe it's about peace. Maybe it's about you finally realizing that proving your worth to someone who couldn't see it was the biggest form of self-betrayal. Their obsession grows because silence creates space, and space forces reflection. They can't fill that space with your words anymore, so they fill it with their fears. They start imagining you happy, glowing, moving on, laughing with someone new. And even if none of that is true, it doesn't matter. The mind always imagines the worst when the heart feels powerless. That's why they keep checking. That's why they keep watching. Because in silence, they lose the ability to control the story. They can't twist your words if you're not speaking. They can't feed their ego if you're not reacting. You've become unpredictable, and unpredictability is their greatest fear. You might feel tempted to break the silence when they start poking at you. You might want to post something to show them what they lost. But remember, peace doesn't need proof. The moment you try to prove you've moved on, you haven't. True silence doesn't need to announce its power. It just exists, effortlessly. I know it's hard, my friends. I know you wonder if they're even thinking about you. You might even feel invisible, but understand this. Obsession doesn't look like love. It looks like chaos disguised as curiosity. They're not missing you because they realized your value. They're missing you because their ego can't function without your reflection. And here's the twist. The more obsessed they become, the calmer you must stay. Because silence isn't about punishing them. It's about protecting your energy from being pulled back into their storm. Every day you hold your silence. You teach them something they were never ready to learn, that your peace was never negotiable and their access to it was never permanent. So let them check, let them wonder, let them refresh that page and stare at that blank screen. Let them see you glow without giving them a single word, because every time they search for signs that you still care, they're really discovering how much power they lost when you stopped giving it to them. And that's when the obsession turns inward, when they realize your silence isn't about games, it's about growth. And that truth, my friends, hits harder than any rejection ever could. Write this in the comments right now. My peace is their silence. Say it proudly. Show them, show yourself, show the world around you that your calm is not confusion. It's clarity, because obsession feeds on attention, but peace feeds on discipline. And stay with me, because what comes next will show you exactly what happens when that obsession turns into regret. Number 5. The mirror effect. Your absence shows them their reflection. Silence doesn't change people, it reveals them. When you go quiet, something strange starts happening. The same people who once rolled their eyes at your emotions, who treated your love like background noise, suddenly start to feel exposed, because your silence, my friends, is not emptiness. It's a mirror, and that mirror reflects back everything they've been avoiding about themselves. At first, they think they're fine. They might even feel powerful. They'll say, "Finally, they stopped bothering me," pretending to feel free. But that illusion doesn't last, because silence has a way of stripping away the layers. When there's no noise to hide behind, the truth starts whispering, and the truth isn't kind. Imagine walking into a room where every mirror shows not your face, but your flaws, the insecurities, the manipulation, the guilt, the arrogance, all staring back at you at once. That's what your absence becomes for them. You've removed the filter of validation that made them feel better about who they were. Without your reassurance, they start noticing the cracks. They start remembering the moments they laughed at your effort, the times they brushed off your pain, the days you stayed when they didn't deserve it. They replay those moments now, but this time they're not the hero. They're the villain in their own story. And that realization hurts more than any argument ever could. Because, my friends, when someone loses the person who made them feel seen, they're forced to meet the version of themselves they were hiding from, and most people aren't ready for that kind of reflection. They'll try to look away, distract themselves, talk to new people, drown in noise, but silence is patient. It waits until the pretending gets too heavy to carry. They'll ask themselves questions they never dared to before. Was I too harsh? Did I push them too far? Why did they stop caring? And though they won't admit it out loud, those questions will start to haunt them, because deep down, they know your silence isn't cruelty, it's consequence. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one." That's exactly what your silence does. It stops arguing. It stops convincing. It stops begging someone to understand the value of your heart. And in that stillness, they finally see the truth. You were never the problem. You were the lesson. But here's the thing about mirrors. They don't lie, even when the reflection hurts. So now they're stuck facing the guilt they tried to bury. They'll scroll through old photos, linger on your messages, and wonder how they ever made someone who cared so deeply go so cold. They'll realize your silence isn't emptiness. It's peace. It's proof that you've stepped out of the role they cast you in. And yes, they'll try to fight the guilt. They'll tell themselves they just got tired. They were dramatic. They'll come back. But guilt and denial can't coexist for long. Eventually, the reflection wins. And when it does, it breaks something inside them. Because facing the truth after pretending for so long is a kind of punishment no words could deliver. Let's be honest, they never thought you'd walk away quietly. They thought if you ever left, it would be loud, emotional, messy. That would have been easier to handle because drama gives the ego something to fight against, but silence leaves the ego swinging at air, and that's when the weight of what they've done finally lands. Your silence doesn't say, "I don't care." It says, "I finally see." It says, "I've learned the difference between love and self-destruction." And that realization doesn't just hurt them, it transforms you. Because when you can stay silent in the face of disrespect, you've mastered a kind of power that can't be faked. They start to wonder what version of you exists now. Are you still the same person who forgave everything? Are you stronger? Are you with someone else? That uncertainty eats at them. They can't reach you through words anymore, so their imagination does the torturing for them. That's the mirror effect. It doesn't just show them their mistakes, it forces them to live with the silence that came after. And the best part? You don't have to lift a finger. You don't have to prove your worth, explain your silence, or announce your glow-up. They'll see it without you saying a word, because real power doesn't demand attention. It commands it. So let them sit with the reflection. Let them feel the discomfort of finally seeing who they've become. Because your silence isn't revenge, it's revelation. And sometimes the most painful truth you can show someone is the one they discover on their own. Write this in the comments right now. My silence is their mirror. Say it like you mean it. Show them, show yourself, show the world around you that your peace has become the reflection they can't escape. Because while they're busy battling their own guilt, you're out here becoming everything they thought you'd never be, grounded, free, and unshakably at peace. And stay with me, my friends, because what comes next will reveal what happens when that reflection turns into full-blown regret, when they finally realize that losing your presence wasn't an accident. It was the consequence of taking your value for granted. Number 6. The regret spiral, when memories turn into need. Regret is what the heart feels when the mind finally catches up to reality. This is the stage where silence stops being confusing and starts becoming painful. This is where the laughter fades, the fake smiles weaken, and the weight of what they've lost begins to settle in. At first, they brushed off your absence, called it a phase, told themselves you'd be back. But as the days turn to weeks, the silence stops feeling like distance and starts feeling like consequence. Regret doesn't hit all at once. It seeps in slowly, like water through cracks they never thought existed. It starts when they hear a song that reminds them of you, when they pass a place where you once stood, when they read an old message and realize how one-sided their replies were. Every small reminder becomes a mirror showing them how much effort you gave and how little they matched it. You see, when someone loses your energy, they don't miss you immediately. They miss the way you made them feel about themselves, the peace you brought to their chaos, the warmth that never asked for repayment. And when that's gone, really gone, the silence becomes deafening. Because now they're surrounded by noise, but nothing feels like connection. They can scroll, they can post, they can pretend, but the silence inside them doesn't fade. Regret, my friends, is the price of taking something genuine for granted. They thought your love was renewable energy, that no matter how many times they drained it, you'd recharge, but your silence proved otherwise. It showed them that even the kindest hearts have limits, and when those limits are reached, it's not anger that follows. It's indifference. Imagine someone walking into a room expecting applause, but finding it empty. They call out, no response. They wait, nothing. That's how your absence feels now. They've gone from being the center of your attention to the background of your peace, and their ego doesn't know how to survive there. Now their mind replays the timeline, trying to find the exact moment they lost you. Was it the day they ignored your message? The night they made you feel small? The moment they took your effort for granted? Their brain becomes a theater of regrets, playing reruns of every chance they had to do better. But it's too late now, because silence is permanent once peace takes its place. The Stoics taught that time heals what reason cannot, but time also exposes what pride hides, and with each passing day, their pride weakens while the truth grows louder. They didn't lose you because you stopped caring. They lost you because they kept testing your patience until you ran out of words. They'll reach out eventually, maybe with a simple, "Hey," maybe with a long apology wrapped in nostalgia. They'll hope you're still the same person who'd answer immediately, who'd melt at the sound of their name. But what they'll find instead is distance. Not the cold kind, but the peaceful kind. The kind that says, "I've moved beyond needing closure." Their biggest punishment isn't your silence, it's your growth. Watching you glow without them will hit harder than any rejection, because they'll realize your silence wasn't emptiness, it was evolution. While they were busy missing you, you were busy mastering yourself, and that's something they can never undo. But let me be real with you. This is also the part where you'll be tested. You'll feel that old ache when you see their name pop up again. You'll wonder, should I reply? Should I give them another chance? But ask yourself this: did they come back because they love you, or because they can't stand losing control? Most people don't miss you when you're gone. They miss the power they had when you were there. Don't let nostalgia rewrite the truth. When you choose silence, you're not punishing them. You're protecting yourself from repeating the same lesson twice. You're choosing peace over pattern growth, over grief. The moment you start chasing again, you reset the very boundaries that made you strong. Let them sit with their regret. It's not cruelty, it's accountability. And the beautiful thing about silence is that it never needs closure. It ends things cleanly without chaos. It says what words never could. I'm not angry, I'm just done. And that done carries more power than any argument or explanation. So let them spiral. Let them miss you in every silence, every song, every sleepless night. Because what hurts them now isn't your absence. It's the realization that your peace no longer includes them. And while they're stuck in that cycle of what-ifs and maybes, you'll be out there creating something stronger, a life that no longer revolves around people who only valued you when you were loud. Remember this: silence isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your rebirth. The day you stop chasing is the day you start attracting what's meant for your growth, not your pain. So take a deep breath, lift your head, and own your calm. You're no longer proving, pleading, or performing. You're at peace, and that's what true power looks like. Now write this in the comments right now. I choose peace over patterns. Because the world needs to see it. They need to see it. You need to see it. Let your silence be a declaration, not of loss, but of strength. And if this message hit home for you, if it reminded you of the strength you forgot you had, press that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and make sure you subscribe. Because this journey doesn't end here, my friends. This is just the beginning of your quiet rise, the era where your peace speaks louder than your pain.